Hi Steve.
Hi Mark.
Just a quick note to say congratulations on reaching 100 episodes of the Beer O'Clock Show.
And it's been a pleasure to be a part of Season 6 for the Irish Craft Beer.
Also great to have Steve over with us recently and hopefully have you both over with us soon.
Best of luck in the future.
And looking forward to the lock-in. Thanks very much. From irishbeersnob.com, I'm Wayne.
I'm Janice.
Cheers guys.
Bye.
You're listening to
the Beer O'Clock.
The Beer O'Clock Show.
You're listening to the Beer O'Clock Show.
It's Beer O'Clock and it's episode 100 of the Beer O'Clock Show. My name is Mark, and joining me is the man who's been beside me every step of the way. The bestest beer buddy a noob could hope for. It's Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can't believe we made it to show 100.
And it wouldn't be episode 100 without technical difficulties getting us on air in the first place, but we've managed to be here in our finest style.
We are indeed, yes.
Right, so
live broadcasts, eh, mate? Who'd do them?
Exactly. We've got a very special beer for tonight. It is one that I have happened to have had before, and that's a little story. It's Mikkeller's Daydream, which is, well, from Siren as well, Mikkeller Siren, excuse me. It is a 12% ABV white stout. It's actually called Beer Geek Daydream. I'm so prepared.
As always, mate, as always.
Are you looking forward to this beer, Steve?
I am very much looking forward to this beer. I've heard great things about it from a lot of people, particularly one of the show's avid followers, Sean, at Plim Sean, who has drunk lots of this and who has bought the world's supply of it, which he currently holds in his cellar in a pub just down the road from me.
Right. We had a little trip to Sheffield last week, didn't we?
We did. Yes, indeed. I was going to let you talk about that tonight, mate.
Were you? Okay. Well, then I'll do a little bit of a chit-chat about it. Okay, so we got asked to do a little beer tasting at a bottle shop in Sheffield called Hop Hard Out. And so we got on a train with our little suitcases and went up to Sheffield for the night. And it was a very lovely time indeed. There was only a small group of people. You know, despite being world famous, we only managed to pull a smallish crowd. But it was good fun. We had lots of good beer. We went about an hour and a half over time because everyone was having such a great time drinking and talking, and much debate over IPAs and saisons and all that kind of thing, and which was the best beer of the night. But all up, it was a great night, and thanks a lot to Hop Hard Out for having us up, and for everyone who came along. Did you have a good time, Steve?
I did, mate. Yeah, just to echo that, I thought it was a nice group. Everybody was really chatty. Everybody was very friendly. It was, as you say, we went well over time, but I guess that's what happens when you start talking to passionate beer people about good beer. You just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. So yeah, just to echo what you said, then thanks to Jules for inviting us up to the Hop Hideout. And it almost, actually, for those of you that are watching live tonight and don't already know, this week it leads into Sheffield Beer Week as well. So we were kind of up there as a bit of a warm-up act for the whole of Sheffield Beer Week, or at least that's what I'm selling it as. So yeah, check out any events going on in Sheffield over the next week. Of course, if you're listening to the show in its normal Friday slot, Sheffield Beer Week was great. It was fantastic. Make sure you catch it next year.
Indeed, I like to think that our presence basically fueled a frenzied excitement in craft beer, and they decided to take an entire week to celebrate it afterwards.
Absolutely, mate. You know, we've established time and time again that where we go, others follow, and that we're a leading force in the craft beer scene.
Right, so how's your beery week been apart from Sheffield, mate?
Yeah, it's been okay. I just obviously we got back sort of Friday, and I then popped down to Mother Kelly's and had a few with Pete Mikkeller, who's been on the show before. He was off on his stag weekend this weekend, so I had a few beers down there, and then just had a few at home over the weekend as well. So yeah, not really too much else to report, to be honest with you, mate.
Cool. Mine was pretty quiet as well, other than Sheffield. I went to Beautiful Beers and Bury St Edmunds yesterday, who I've been banging on a bit about on Twitter, just because I'm always so excited when I go in. Because it's a great little shop, and Rene, who runs it, is great and informative, and he stocks a shitload of different beers as well for such a small shop. So I came out with... I intended to go in and get 2 or 3 bottles, and I walked out with about 10. So...
Nicely done.
Oh well.
much like my
Yeah,
empty suitcase that was taken up to Sheffield, and a very full and heavy one that came back with me.
Indeed. I was promising my wife I wouldn't be buying any more beer, and came home from Sheffield with a bag full, and then walked out with 2 bags full from Beautiful Beers. So now I've got to find room for them all. But he had the Kiwi beers there, and he has his usual huge range of Belgians and French and American beers. It's great stuff. So now I just have to catalogue it, put it on my beer shelf, and in time drink it all.
Yes, because you wouldn't want to mistakenly drink one, would you, mate?
I have never mistakenly drunken a beer in my life. How dare you? I think it might be confession time.
Yeah, I think it's time you told the listeners, and for those that have tuned in and watching us tonight, exactly how tonight's show didn't nearly happen.
Yes, well, this beer, like I said at the top of the show, I have drunk it before. That was by mistake. Steve gave me a bottle of this to have on this show, and I promptly... See, my excuse is when Steve gives me a beer for the show, he puts a little red label on the top, and that means show beer. And this didn't have one of those, or it had fallen off. And I liked the label, I thought it was quite pretty, so I drank it about 2 months ago, and promptly ended up on my arse. So, tonight's a promising night. And unfortunately, I had to break the news to Stephen, and he very kindly managed to get a bottle from the very, very kindly Plimsoll, and for which I am most grateful, and for which Steve will never let me live down.
It better be worth it, that's all. Because, like I said earlier on, the world's entire stock of this beer is currently in a cellar in Housestead in Essex, because Sean likes it so much. He literally rinsed the Mikkeller store of it. So, yeah, thanks to Sean for letting us have one of those stocks of the beer so that Mark could actually drink it on our 100th celebration show.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, thanks again, Sean, and thanks, Steve, for not murdering me on the train up to Sheffield.
It's fine, mate.
Do you have any news, mate?
Of course, there's news. There's always news. Live news tonight as well. Let's do some live news to the folks that are watching, and those that are listening as well.
Okay, but you don't have my pips tonight. We have some guest pips, of which the live audience will not hear. But here we go.
Hi, this is Andy Parker, also known as Tabamatu and Elusive Brewing. Congratulations, Mark and Steve, on reaching your 100th show. Quite an achievement, and I'm pleased to have appeared on a couple of them, and here's to many more. And now back to Steve for the news.
An incredible guest pips they were as well. So we've got some beer release details. This week sees the release of this year's Duvel Triple Hop 2015. So for those of you that follow what Duvel do once a year, they brew a limited edition of their renowned beer, but they add an additional hop to it. So this year's additional hop is Equinox from the US, and that's been added to the beer's usual base hop of SARS and Styrian Goldings. So keep your eye out for that when it comes out. Thornbridge are releasing new beer in a couple of weeks called Bear State, which is West Coast IPA, coming in at 7%. We were chatting to the guys while I was up in Sheffield about that, and by all accounts, it's a pretty decent beer. So, again, another one to keep your eyes out for. The London Brewers Market will be taking place on Saturday, 28th of March. You can check out all the details about that at londonbrewersmarket.com to see which breweries are going to be there. And then finally, it wouldn't be the news and it wouldn't be a live news special without some news about Brewdog. Of course, they get their own news within the news. Soon they'll be having their own pips within the pips, I imagine, as well. They've been given a 1.5 million government grant, which will help them to create 130 new jobs and to continue to expand the brewery. They're also looking to launch a soft drinks range at some point, so keep your eye out for that as well. And so ends the news.
Very good, and let's get some of these little guest clips from people that have sent in very kind messages for our 100th episode. And let's have a listen to a handful of them now.
Hi, it's Giz, aka Witch of Signs. I just wanted to say hi all the way from Turkey. You're ace. Bye.
Hello, and welcome to Steve and Roland's happy 100th episode message to the Beer O'Clock Show.
Indeed. Well done, guys.
100?
Yeah.
Like, they've been going ages, and we've not been going that long, and we're catching them up.
Yeah, we do a lot, though. But
do a lot.
They've got a lot more content than we have.
They talk for a lot more than us, but very happy returns on your 100th episodes. May there be many hundreds after.
Yeah, well done, guys, and we look forward to many more.
Let's get into this week's beer, mate. Our 100th featured, I think it's probably 100th featured beer. Probably more than that now, that if you take into account our doubles and our 5 beer episodes and our home brews and all that. But beer 100, just for the record, is Mikkeller Siren's Beer Geek Daydream, which is a white stout brewed with coffee, cocoa, and vanilla.
It's a lovely aroma coming out of the bottle straight away.
It is, yeah.
We've just got, just to mention, just before I pour this, we've just been sent a picture from Sean, who supplied your bottle. They're all tucking into one up there as well this evening, so that's good to see. Good. We're not drinking alone. It does seem as though there's a few other people that are joining us tonight, and it'd be great to know if you are joining us with a beer, what beer you're drinking. So tweet us and let us know, and we'll make sure we mention it.
I was about to say the same thing, which just goes to show the synergy that has formed over the course of 100 episodes.
Over 100 episodes, yes, we've almost become one. We've started finishing each other's sentences. I know exactly how he likes his tea in the morning. It's amazing. This smells incredible. There's a really kind of boozy aroma, as you would imagine from a 12% brew. There's some sweet hints in there. You do pick up the coffee and the vanilla, but it smells incredible. I'm really looking forward to getting into this, actually.
Yeah, well, let's wait no longer, mate.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
Cheers and thank you.
Thank you. Happy 100th.
Happy 100th.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's good. It's all sorts of sweet up front, and then it gives way. You begin to get that coffee coming through in the middle, and then the finish. It's such a warming finish to it.
Yeah.
That is. I need another sip of that just to make sure I've actually tasted all of that. Oh yeah, that's good. That's really tasty. I'm going to enjoy this one. I think it certainly isn't going to be one to guzzle either. It's going to be one that I'm going to take a little longer than usual over.
Yeah, it's kind of got the body of a 12% beer as well, which is nice because we've had a few lately where the ABV's been high, but they've felt easy, which isn't a bad thing because it makes them very drinkable. But sometimes you want the ABV to be noticeable. To feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah.
Basically. And
that certainly feels like you're right. So, mate, we're not the only ones that are enjoying this tonight. Our number one fan has just cracked one as well. Miles, cheers. Nice to see the picture of the daydream there that you're about to get tucking into. Hope you enjoy it as much as we are, mate. And thanks for your support.
So, there seem to be quite a few of these Beer Geek beers.
There is. There's an entire range
I'll
of them.
admit that when I realised I'd drunk mine and I had to quickly replace it, I did a search. And that's when I found the wide range of Beer Geek beers that are out there, of which Daydream was not one of them. Because no bastard sells it anymore.
No.
Because Sean bought them all.
Sean snapped them all up, yeah, every single one of them. No, I wanted us to do a fairly special beer for the 100th show. And when this was released last year, it kind of piqued my interest. And I thought that'd be a good one to do. So I did manage to source us a couple of bottles to tuck away, which one of us succeeded on, and the other shall never let it be forgotten. That he drank his beer. But what interested me was obviously because Mikkeller, that what they're renowned for is cuckoo brewing. So going to other people's breweries and brewing the beer and then packaging them with them. And the Daydream, the thing that attracted me to it was the white stout brewed with coffee, cocoa, and vanilla. And also the ABV of it as well, because I thought a nice 12% beer would be apt for the 100th show. But the white stout thing interested me because I've had a white stout before, and I think what I was expecting was literally just a clear version of a beer that tasted very, very roasted and very, very dark, which this obviously doesn't. This hasn't got those flavours. So I kind of looked into it a little bit because I was a bit perplexed by why is it called a white stout then? What's that all about? Is it just one of these craft gimmick type things? But but by all accounts, go back a couple of 100 years, and stout was a term that was used with for stronger beers, simply for stronger beers. A white stout, basically stout was a name for a stronger, a bigger, and a bold beer. And what happened, obviously, in the 1800s, you know, we know the story of how porters started in London. They were then taken to Ireland. They become stout porters, and then the word porter was eventually dropped, and stout became the recognised term. Well, stout, even then, when used in front of a porter, was just as a way to define it as being a stronger beer than a normal porter. So hence, a white stout, we shouldn't be expecting to taste something that should taste like the black stuff. What we're tasting is just a typically very, very strong beer. And at 12% and everything that we're getting from this, that's what I'm getting. As we say, I know there's a couple of people out there tonight that are drinking along with us. So by all means, guys, if you've got one of these, tweet us your thoughts about it, and we can make sure we can include them in this discussion.
Indeed, and we've got a couple of people who have tweeted what they're drinking tonight live while they're watching. In addition to Miles, we've got our old buddy Justin Mason, who's drinking a Leafman's Gudenbrand, which comes in a tinfoil wrapper, which is like the craft beer's version of a brown paper bag. And good old Luan Brew is drinking a Leaf Rout something. Maybe it's ale. I don't know.
No, it is an alt. It's a style of beer, an alt beer. So yeah, and unfortunately, Sparky Wright can't connect on his iPad tonight, so he's going to have to wait for the podcast. So, Sparky, you missed a great night, but I'm sure the podcast sounds even better.
It's probably for the better, Sparky.
Yeah, it's not been great so far.
What else are you getting from this beer, mate? There's a lovely maltiness underneath that boozy, coffee layer.
There is, yeah. I mean, I think it's backed up by the malts that are in it, but I'm getting a lot of the coffee as it's beginning to warm now. That's really coming through in the middle of the drink. It's leaving a lovely kind of bitter coffee finish to it as well. It's a fantastic beer because if you did close your eyes, you'd probably be fooled into thinking you were drinking something a lot darker than it actually is. For those that are listening to the audio-only version of this tonight and can't see what I'm holding up to the camera right now, it is a lovely dark amber colour. almost bordering on orange. And the flavours just really, really complement what's going on in that glass, I think.
And for once, I don't feel like guzzling it.
Well, that's a first, mate. In 100 shows, it's
Yeah.
the first time you haven't wanted to absolutely slam back the beer.
So we've done 100 episodes, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said on on Twitter a few days ago, we're not really one for not... What did I say? I can't even remember now. We're quite self-referential when we want to be.
We
You know,
do
we
like
don't...
bigging up ourselves, yes.
Well, not necessarily that, but we like talking about all the stuff that we've done and having a little of a self-celebration at any chance we get. Whether it's a birthday show or an end-of-season show, or, you know, we managed to get through another season without killing each other, and we managed to start another season, come back from our holidays in one piece, and so episode 100 is probably the best reason we've had to celebrate so far. I think it is quite the milestone.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, we've gone on record before to say, you know, for two blokes that when we started this didn't really know what we were doing, and it was a bit of a joke, and you know, the fact that we made it into double figures, I think, with the podcast. But the thing that probably amazes me even more is that not only did we continue doing them, people started listening to them, and people started saying that they enjoyed listening to them, and more people have listened to them, and we've got just fantastic engagement now from folks on Twitter, and when we're out and about, you know, people like to come out and have a beer with us, and people do comment on the podcast as well. And I think it's great, mate. I've got to be careful here. The more of this 12% beer I drink, the more likely I am to start weeping towards the end of tonight's show, overcome with emotion as we reach this pinnacle.
So, over the course of the last 100 episodes, what has been... I'm going to say it. What's been your highlight?
What's been my highlight?
You can give me a few if you want.
Oh, I was going to say there's been a lot of highlights. The one that will probably come as no surprise to anybody will be the show where we did Unhuman Cannonball with our first ever #1 fan, Stath, which turned into a giggle fest. It was the first time I'd drunk anything that strong. You decided to neck it, and on listening back to it, it literally was three school kids giggling in the playground. That's right up there as being one of the absolute highlights for me.
Same.
One of the others that spring to mind is when we did the show with John Keeling from Fuller's. One of the longest shows I think we've ever put out. But just the fact that we got to spend time chatting with John and drinking his beers, and just having a great time, just exploring the world of beer with him. For me, that was an absolute highlight. But there have been some others that I'm struggling to think of right now, so I'm going to bat this one back to you. In addition to those two, because I know we often cite those as being two of the standout shows. Are there any others that stand out for you, mate?
I have to say the time we reviewed Golden Glory. That's for you, Steve Barlow, mate. No, I don't know. Those were the two that I had in mind. The homebrew specials are always really good, and that first lock-in that we ever did will go down in history as probably the messiest 4.5 hours anyone's ever spent on YouTube. Not in a restricted section. Yeah, I don't know. We've just done some amazing beers.
I think what you said there was a good point as well. You know, that the homebrew specials are a lot of fun to do. And as we said on last week's show, you know, the calibre of the beers that are being produced in people's homes, the fact that people are willing to come on and chat to us about those beers and share that, and you know, for the many guests that we've now had on the show, some of which are tuning in tonight, some of which are hopefully listening back to the podcast when it's released next week. Sometimes it can be a daunting experience to come on and do this for the first time, but people still want to come on, and they still want to come on, and they do it, and they talk about beer, and they have a good time. We've got people joining in with sharing their favourite episodes now, which is brilliant. Lou on Brew has just said she particularly enjoyed the Beavertown cans one.
That was messy.
It seems to be a theme here that whenever we do a show that ends up a little bit messy, those are the ones that people seem to enjoy the most. But yeah, I mean, it's all been good, mate. I just think if the guys out there are still enjoying listening to what we do, we'll still keep on doing it. We've done 100 shows in total. We've probably done about 120 beers or something like that. There's a lot more beer out there for us to explore before we finish this.
Oh yeah, Brewdog have released 120 beers in the time we've done this episode.
And each one of them inspired by us.
Let's have a couple more little clips from our lovely supporters who have very kindly sent in messages.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is former number one fan, Staff. Guys, living the dream. There you are, 100th show. Who'd have thought it? But you've done it. Raising beer standards all over the world. I'm proud of you, gents. Keep up the great work. Heroes amongst men. Absolutely top draw.
Hey, this is Nate from Brews, Beats and Bites. I was pleased to be Beer O'Clock Show's first ever guest on their show, and I'm so glad they're still going strong. Thank you very much, guys. Happy anniversary.
Okay, so we've got a few people sharing their thoughts about the beer now as well. So Miles, who's on it with us tonight, says there's a delicious warmth to it, and he's got that Ready Breck advert red glow around him tonight. I can understand what he's saying there. It does give you a warmth to it that does leave you feeling like that. The guys up at the Bird in Hand in Housestead, which is Sean's pub, are still posting pictures of them enjoying the Daydream. So cheers, chaps. Be good to get your thoughts on what you're getting from it as well. Just slightly off track, Sparky's commented now. He's actually in and watching, and he's not sure whether the previous comment was a sideways one or not. But nice to know you're with us now, Sparky. Just keep on letting us know whether you're enjoying this or not, and what you're drinking this evening. So more pictures coming through now with more people drinking Mikkeller, Siren, Daydream. So it's we've got a few people in tonight watching, it would seem. So again, I'd be keen. Lou's already started this ball rolling. If anybody else has got any favourite moments that they want to tweet in, we'll try and make sure we give those a mention before we finish the beer. Because
a very, very nice beer.
It is, and again, people are sharing their thoughts on it. So Nonsuch, who is a new one on me, at 4VKC3R, one of those really easy Twitter handles to remember, has just commented, it's a lovely beer full of flavour, which none of them drank without permission. So obviously, it's great that the listeners are now having a dig at you as well, mate, which is brilliant.
And Paul Grant, who's watching, he's not very well. He's coughing up his lungs. Sorry, Paul.
But he's looking forward to the lock-in.
So, what have we got coming up in the future? Do you want to reveal any plans, mate, for the next 100 episodes? Even though that's like 2.5 years worth. Yeah,
it's, we can. Well, you know what I'm like. I'm a born planner, so I don't know whether I've gone quite that far forward. But just to share with the folks that while I was up in Sheffield, you and I had what we termed our first Beer O'Clock Show summit as well, which kind of laid out the way forward for the show in the future. And being those times of political madness, we even went so far as producing a Beer O'Clock Show manifesto, which Mark and I will now be living and breathing week in, week out. But what have we got coming up? So the rest of this season, we're going to finish our Irish theme this season. We'll have the guys on a few times again, joining us from Ireland. We've also got a show coming up towards the end of this season as well, which we've mentioned a couple of times. It's going to have Justin Mason, Chris Hall, and Matt Curtis on it. It could be one of the most audioly descriptive podcasts you've ever heard by the time those three finish describing a beer. But we're also hoping to have a little twist on that one as well, because we're going to be hopefully reviewing a second product, which isn't a beer. So, and I'm not going to say any more about that right now, but we'll reveal a little bit more about that in the future. So we've got another lock-in coming up at the end of this season, and then we're going to jump straight into next season because we've had to play around with dates because of your holidays. My holidays don't quite allow us to have the sort of schedule that we normally have. So the next season is going to be a really, really short one. It's only going to be about 8 episodes. Within that, we've got our 3rd birthday, and it also goes across the Britain Beer Day event, which is happening on the 16th of June. But we're going to theme that season around kind of the 6 nations of rugby. So we're going to do one beer from each of those nations, which we'll reveal soon which those beers are going to be. And then going further forward, we're going to be doing a few summer specials this year, including what's going to be kind of a live with the Beer O'Clock show type thing. Again, more details to come about that soon. Still finalising the details for the big season that we run up until Christmas. Don't really know what's going on in there at the moment, so keep an eye out for that. And we have finally decided that we're going to take on the mountain, haven't we, mate? At some point, we're going to do a Belgian season, because we feel as though, as to what I feel we're now accepted within the community, beer geeks, nerds, wankers, whatever you want to call us, it's about time we challenged Belgian beers, which I'm sure if Justin's still tuning in, he'll be thrilled to hear that we're finally going to be taking on that challenge. So yeah, lots to come, mate.
And for the Belgian one, I have managed to get someone to agree to actually curate a little short list of Belgian beers, so it's not just us picking ones off Waitrose shelves like when we did our European season way back when.
Oh no, they're going to be proper Belgian beers, and we're hoping to do them in kind of 3 stages as well, so kind of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Of which you'll probably get an entire season of Mark and I just saying, well, it tastes a bit Belgian-y.
It's a bit yeasty.
It's a bit yeasty. Got a bit of funk to it. It's
clovey. We've actually had a few more comments on Twitter. Justin Mason has parked up saying that his favourite episode is the one where you, Stephen, finally pronounced Saison correctly. He reckons that was a landmark. And Miles Lambert has said that his favourite is episode 50 when he was first mentioned and I made him number 2 fan. It seems so long ago. And Cerna Vergerven, our favourite unpronounceable Twitter handle, loves the All These Halcyon episode. I think that was when we had Rowan on, wasn't it?
That was, yeah. That was a good show. You particularly liked that one.
Yeah.
Because you love the hot monsters that I throw in every now and again, don't you?
Indeed. Yeah, that was a point of contention at our little Sheffield get-together as well.
Whether we continue throwing in hot monsters or whether we actually try
me not liking the hops.
I know where you're coming from, mate. You can't say that you don't like hops, because otherwise, we may as well stop now and never do any more Beer O'Clock shows. It's the hop monsters that you don't like.
No, and the fact that I actually bought a bottle of Epic Hop Zombie on the weekend.
Oh, mate, that's an incredible beer. That is absolutely incredible. It is, yeah.
It's like the size of me, almost. And apparently the label glows in the dark.
Does it? Oh, I didn't know that. I'm going to have to...
Renee told me.
I'm going to have to go down my bottle bin now and find it just so I can see it glowing in the dark.
So I'll have to do a test of that and make that my beer pick when I tap it in.
I was just going to say, I'm quite keen to find out, seeing as people are engaging with us now as well on Twitter tonight. So again, one for the people that are tuning in live. Is there anything you'd like to see us do? Something that we haven't done yet that you'd like to see us do, that you'd like to either challenge us with? Maybe we could have a whole season of challenge the Beer O'Clock Show and with beers. Any ideas that people have got out there? Because I love a crazy idea. Mark saw my crazy idea live in the flesh as to how it works when we were coming home on
your
the train
crazy
from
idea
Sheffield.
moment.
And while we're waiting for those responses to flood in, let's talk a little bit more about the beer, because it does taste amazing.
Yeah, that booziness continues all the way through it. I'm not getting much of the coffee towards the end, but I'm also coming down with a bit of a cold, which might be ruining it for me.
No, I agree. Actually, I think the coffee is something certainly not softened, and that's my ability to speak. The coffee has softened towards the end, and I think more of the other flavours are coming through. So more of the sweetness from the vanilla and the balance of the cocoa in there as well. That's coming through more towards the end. It's still got this big boozy finish to it as well. It really is an incredible beer. It's an absolute shame that this was such a limited edition release, because I would love to see this be produced again, because it is incredibly good, and it's one that I'm glad we've done as our 100th celebration.
We've had some more comments coming through from Twitter. Son of a Gervin likes the episodes where you deprive craft wankers from winning 3 in a row prizes.
That's not a personal dig at all, is it?
Nonsuch asks or says that we should do a season of Czech beers.
Oh, okay.
Justin says that, in all seriousness, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to listen to you both expand your knowledge and palate. Justin, we've just learned to bullshit, mate. That's basically how it is.
I disagree, actually, mate. No, hang on, I disagree, because I know we've had this discussion, and I don't know whether we've had it like on the show, but your palate has come on incredibly over the 100 shows, and I've said this to you time and time again. There are times when you put a final description on a beer, and I'm like, I can't add anything to that, because I think you've absolutely nailed it. And from this point forward, from show 101, you can no longer refer to yourself as a beer noob, as an apprentice, as the learner. That's not you anymore, mate. You're no longer a rookie. You've stepped up. I think
there needs to be a certain level of inebriation for me to come out with that kind of stuff, though. I still stand by my Unhuman Cannonball review as being the best review I've ever done.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens when we get to the summing up of this beer, and we'll see where you can take that one.
And Andy Parker at Tabamatu, my favourite home brewer, I love you, Andy, says, how about a show on beer cocktails?
That could be an interesting one to do. We might have to do that live somewhere, though.
Okay.
We'll think about that. You don't seem
I can't wait for the spin-off show, the Pie O'Clock Show, personally.
Yeah, because we're enjoying doing spin-off shows at the moment, aren't we? Because we've got it would be, shameless self-promo. Make sure you check out the Beastie shows, the Wee Beastie shows that we're doing with Harvestoon at the moment, which is covering their limited edition range. And one of the other things that I didn't mention when I was talking about what's coming next, we are going to do another spin-off series. We mentioned this the other week, actually, in jest, I think it was, and it's kind of now developed into a thing. We're going to do a spin-off series of about 8 or 9 shows that we're calling Revisited. And basically what we're doing, we're going back to the first season of the show, and we're going to redo some of the beers that we did in that first season that we maybe feel either we didn't do justice to the first time round, or that maybe our palates weren't ready for, or that we've moved on so much that we feel as though we could give a much better review. So keep your eye out for that. They're going to be fairly sporadic. I'll say that. They're going to be one a month between now and Christmas. But keep your eye out for that. Details will be coming in future weeks about the Revisited series.
And a couple more comments on possible seasons. How about a whole season on lager styles?
That could be interesting. There's quite a range of lager styles out there, yeah.
Yep. And how about a history series, a beer from a place or brewer important in beer history?
Boom, mate. That's the one that's going to get us a contract with BBC 4. Isn't it? That's it. That's the one. We're going to be all over iPlayer. That's where I want to be. That could be a good one, actually.
I think people would demand their license fees back if they saw that. Twitter's kind of dried up for now.
Yeah, I think everybody's enjoying their beers, aren't they? I mean, mine. I'm done. Yeah. I'm all empty. Feeling as though we should have maybe underdid ourselves a little bit here. Maybe we should have done 2 beers for the 100th show. So I'm just getting going.
Yeah. Any closing comments on this Beer Geek Daydream from Mikkeller Siren, mate?
No, I'm going to let you do it on the 100th show, mate.
Well, unfortunately, like I said, and how people who are watching the live show can hear, I'm sneezing up a storm. I think I'm coming down with a cold, which is not very pleasant, and I can't get all the flavours from this that I did the first time. The first time I ever had this, I checked it in on Untapped with "This beer kills the Roku." Roku being my Twitter handle at the time. It is lovely and boozy. You can really feel that 12%. If it wasn't like you said, if you couldn't see the beer you were drinking, you would think it would be like a proper dark. If someone told you to drink this stout, you would think, oh well, this is a stout. Maybe not without the really, really pronounced coffee notes. But you're still getting some of that coffee through. You're getting the sweetness through. There's like a underlayer of really nice, sweet, smooth malts with this bitterness and lasting warmth coming over the top of it, and like this tongue tip of sweetness that's kind of cutting through everything with the vanilla. That's about as much as I can give you, Steve. How about you?
Mate, I think you've graduated there, haven't you? Yeah, it's again. There's nothing I can add to that. You've absolutely summed it up for me. It was a beer that changed. Up front, there was a lot of booze initially, big boozy flavours. That then softened in the middle, and there was a lot of coffee for me. And then on the end, it's just turned into a really nice sweet beer that's just one that you want to go back to time and time again.
Yep. Can I just cut in and say that Sparky Wright got a badge on the 100th show last week?
Ultimate badge wanker. Nice one, Sparky.
Oh, dearie me. Cool. Okay, what's coming up next week, buddy?
Next week we're going back to Ireland. Wayne and Janice are back on with us next week, and we are reviewing Brew Brewery's Rua Red Ale.
Red Ale.
Red Ale.
Very good.
Ale.
You can find us.
just for those fans that like a bit of pale ale. I just thought I'd throw that in.
How did you used to pronounce saison? I can't remember.
I've no idea. Because all I know now is that it's a saison. Maybe I used to call it a saison.
Maybe.
I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure Justin will let us know how we used to pronounce it.
You can find us online at beeroclockshow.co.uk and on Twitter at beeroclockshow, on Untapped at beeroclockshow, and on Instagram on beeroclockshow. Steve, I'm on Twitter at Roku, and I'm on Twitter.
No, you've messed
Roku
all
Beer.
that up tonight.
And I'm on Untapped at Roku. Thanks, guys. 100 episodes. Wow.
Yeah, mate, you've forgotten something.
What did I forget? Oh,
Prizes.
fucking hell! Prizeless prize.
Prizeless prize. the 100th episode prizeless prize. Probably the most sought after prizeless prize of them all.
Yeah.
And here it is. I can show it tonight, can't I, to those that are watching? And it's a new contributor as well. So this is a first-time winner of the Prizeless Prize on our 100th show. This is World of Beercraft for this picture. there it is. I really like that this week. Obviously,
classy.
for those of you that are listening to this and not tuning into the live episode, this picture is in tonight's show notes, and it's also on our Instagram account. You can get involved in the Prize This Prize action by by posting a picture on Instagram and hashtagging it. Cheers, guys.
Very good. Right, the Beer O'Clock Show is proud to be supported by Ales by Mail, your premier destination for bottled real ales delivered directly to your door. Visit alesbymail.co.uk and use the code BOCS10 for a 10% discount. So ends episode 100 of the Beer O'Clock Show. I'm going to play us out after Steve and I say goodbye, and before the tinkly tinkly music, with a message from our well-deserved number one fan, Miles. Steve, thanks ever so much for joining me on this wild, crazy ride of 100 episodes.
And just before we go, mate, it's important to make sure that we say thank you to all the people that have made sure we're still here 100 shows in. So thanks to all the breweries, all the folk in the industry, shops, stores, and most of all to all of our listeners and followers. Thank you so much for sticking with us and putting us in your ears every week. We wouldn't be here without you. Cheers, guys.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Beer O'Clock Show. Happy birthday to you. Hi, it's Miles here. Just want to say happy birthday. 100 years old today. Mark, Steve, still looking good for it. Proof positive that beer must be good for you. Cracking show, lads. Keep up the good work. All the best.